All right, but let's move into the final rankings, or at least for the starting positions. We got 1 through 10. Super excited. We're going to welcome in John in just a little bit. He's on the line right now. He's going to listen to our rankings, and then he's going to grade them to see how well we did. So, Ricky, why don't you start us off 1 through 10, starting at 10.
Well, starting at number 10, I've got... It's going to say Brook Lopez, but really it's the Bash Bros because Rolo's in town too. So the Brolo brothers, they're at number 10. Then DeAndre Drummond of the Pistons at 9. DeAndre Ayton. Andre. I keep putting DeAndre, but Andre Drummond.
DeAndre Ayton. Yeah,
DeAndre Drummond. Or Andre Drummond at 9. DeAndre Ayton at 8. Then we got Clint Capella at 7. Miles Turner at 6. Vusi Mang at number 5. Rudy Gobert at 4. Cat at 3, the Joker at 2, and then Joel Embiid. You're welcome, Jake, at number 1.
All right, Dave, 1 through 10.
Sure. And number 10, I've got Steven Adams. At 9, Brook Lopez. 8, Marc Gasol. 7, Miles Turner. 6, Clint Capella. 5, Straight Up. 4, Rudy Gobert. 3, Karl-Anthony Towns. 2, Jokic. 1, Joel Embiid.
And for those uninitiated, straight up means Nikola Vucevic. Yeah, I just want to make sure because we do have some new viewers. That was like
took me a second.
3-year-old reference.
Took me a second even. I was like, straight up, and I was like, oh, nice.
All right, my 1 through 10. At 10, I have DeAndre Ayton. At 10, I have DeAndre Ayton. At 9, I have Andre Drummond. At 8, I have Derek Favors. At 7, I have Clint Capella. At 6, I have Miles Turner. At 5, I have Nikola Vucevic. At 4, I have Rudy Gobert. At 3, I have Karl-Anthony Towns. At 2, I have Joel Embiid. And at number 1, the true number 1 center, and I get it, we're trying to appease Jake, but yeah, Nikola Jokic is the best center in the NBA, and I have every stat to prove it, but I'm not going to get into my Sean rant just yet. Our cumulative rankings for these centers, it's going to be number 10, Marc Gasol. At 9, DeAndre Ayton. At 8, Andre Drummond. At 7, Clint Capella. At 6, Miles Turner. At 5, Nikola Vucevic. At 4, Rudy Gobert. At 3, Karl-Anthony Towns. At 2, unfortunately, is Nikola Jokic. And at number 1 is Joel Embiid. And now we're going to welcome in Patreon, John. John, how'd we do?
What's up, fellas?
Hey, John.
How you guys doing?
I love hearing this voice.
You guys did pretty good. I got 1 B plus and 2 B's.
Okay.
Who's the B plus?
Dave.
Oh,
come on.
That's a shocker.
Come on.
Is it because of Andre Drummond?
Absolutely.
Why'd he get the B plus?
He had the highest ranking for Steven Adams.
Yes.
Yeah, I got him at 13.
I have him lower.
H2P, University of Pittsburgh product.
There we go.
So is it just because you went to Pittsburgh? Is that Dave got that plus on the end? What am I missing on Steven Adams here?
If I knew that, I would have put Steven Adams.
That's the only reason why.
So if DeJuan Blair was on here, would DeJuan Blair be top 5?
That's a bit of a stretch. He should be a top 20 though.
That guy is my guy.
God.
If we're talking University of Pittsburgh players, that is my favorite player of the past decade or whatever. He is the best. But I mean, Steven Adams. I mean, I don't think of him right away as a Pittsburgh guy. Isn't he from New Zealand? Right. So I immediately think of him as a Kiwi over there. I think that's what they call him over there. But anyways, let's settle the big debate here. All right, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic. We got 2 votes from Ricky and Dave for Joel Embiid being the best center in the NBA. We have 1 for Nikola Jokic. Are you on Ricky and Dave's side, or are you on my side, Dave? Or John?
Well, let me answer. I like to respond to questions with a question because I don't like the premise. Everybody knows what's the best ability in sports?
Availability.
There you go.
God,
there you go.
Damn it.
That's the only way that Jokic can be better than Embiid. Embiid's more talented. Who's that? Let's see. Sean, do you agree? Who's more talented, do you think?
What are we talking?
Jokic?
What are we talking talent-wise? Are we just talking athleticism?
Like,
if we're talking
going into the second round playoffs, who do you want your center to be? Jokic or Embiid?
Nikola Jokic, because he's going to be available and he's better. And I have a whole rant, so I don't want to get too much into it. But if we're talking strict athleticism, clearly one's an athletic, a guy that was gifted with athleticism, and Joel
Big
Embiid.
Macs and drinking Coke.
Yeah, and the other dude is notably coming in as a polar bear in Nikola Jokic. But here's one thing: Can Nikola Jokic get better at conditioning? Yes. But is it hampering him so much that people are coming out of this offseason saying he's too fat? No. Are people saying that about Joel Embiid? That Joel Embiid needs to slim down? Yes. So one guy's made progress in it from coming in as a legit polar bear in Nikola Jokic to Joel Embiid, who is now kind of becoming the chubby process here. He's slowing down a little bit after these 3 years here in the NBA. So I look at it and
I look at it here. So much mass because he needed to. I mean, you go back and you look at the time he spent in college and look at the body shape he has there versus now. Like, they're not even the same person. I'm sorry.
No,
he is a freak of nature. Muscle, just the amount of muscle and size he put on is incredible.
If we're talking strict athleticism, Joel Embiid is more athletic. If we're talking basketball gifted, I would probably say Jokic.
Last year, Joel Embiid averaged 27 points plus.
He did.
Last year, Jokic averaged 20 plus.
He did.
Joel is a two-way player. I don't think Jokic's offensive game is that much better than Embiid to make up for his inferior defensive capabilities than Embiid.
Got it. Here's one thing and this will go into a rant, so John, I know you're probably going to want to butt in at some time, and that's totally fair. But I have an absolute maniac when I get a Nikola Jokic train on myself. I have so many pages of notes here.
Exactly. If you've seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, we're about to have a Pepe Silvia rant here coming out of Sean right now.
Here's the first thing, John. I know you are a guy that appreciates long-time basketball. You are a guy that loves the legends, and I want to ask you, do you know how many players have put up, or how many times a stat line of 20, 10, and 7 has been put up in a season?
How many players? 27. I would say never. I'll say Jokic last year won.
No, very, very good guess, but it's been 9 times. Russell Westbrook's done it 3 times, Oscar's done it 3 times, and Chamberlain's done it twice. Jokic is the other player. So if we're looking at
he's the only center.
Chamberlain.
Well, Will, I don't know what to call Will.
Yeah, so we're talking about a guy that is probably the most athletic player to ever play basketball in Wilt Chamberlain, the 7-foot freak that was apparently the fastest guy on the court. We have Oscar Robertson, who is probably the quintessential point guard before Magic came around, and then we're talking about Russell Westbrook, the first guy since Oscar to put up a triple-double, and then Nikola Jokic. So, I mean, this guy, I understand that you're saying, he's not a guy that is putting up 20 or 27 points a night, but he's also not taking as many shots as Joel is. That whole offense works on them moving the ball around, and Jokic being such a crucial part of moving that ball around. And he's not the most aggressive offensive player. Joel Embiid is super aggressive, and I think that's why he gets such this love when it comes to his defensive abilities and when it comes to his offensive abilities, because yes, he is putting up 27 points a night, but he's doing it because he's aggressive. He's constantly trying to score, where Jokic is trying to just move the ball around. Jokic averaged 7 assists last year with only 3 turnovers. I mean, he was a guy that was moving the ball around consistently and making sure that offense worked. And that offense clearly worked better than what Philadelphia was doing because they won more in a tougher conference. All right? And I know that it's not a traditional stat line. It's not a traditional 3-way split in, rebounds, points, and assists. But if you look at every advanced metric here, Nikola Jokic not only pans up to Joel Embiid, he beats him. Offensive rating for Jokic, 119 compared to Embiid's 114. When you look at defensive rating, it's 105 for Jokic to 104 for Embiid. That is pretty much as close as you can possibly get. Embiid is 1 point better than Jokic when it comes to defensive rating. When you look at VORP, a whole 4 points higher for Jokic than Joel Embiid. When you look at box plus minus score, the whole idea of what is this guy doing when he's off the floor, he was 9.5 compared to Jokic's 4.1. When you look at Jokic's defensive box score plus minus, 3.8 compared to Embiid's 2.1. Defensive win shares, Jokic 4.3, Embiid 3.8. And when you look at all of that taken together, you might say, oh, Embiid's scoring more. Well, Jokic is pretty much the same amount of efficient as Embiid was. You look at true shooting, 58.9% for Jokic compared to 59.3% for Embiid. The biggest thing that I will say for the 76ers, they were much worse without Embiid than the Nuggets were without Jokic. However, you can make the argument that Denver has probably the best bench in the NBA. So I would say that it's not really much on Jokic, it's more on at least the lack of depth for the 76ers. And finally, for all of that, what means the most in the NBA? John, what would you look at the most to define who's the best player ever? What's the one place? Championships.
Championships.
None of these guys have it. So you want to say playoffs then?
Yes.
All right, let's look at the playoffs. If we look at what the opponents did when Jokic was off the floor last year, when he was off the floor, what they did offensively, they had an offensive rating of 126. That is near top of the league. When he was on the floor, 108. That is staunching defense, and that is a staunch difference there. He made so much of a difference in the playoffs where it mattered on defense for the Denver Nuggets team. He was a dominant player, 127 offensive rating for himself, 109 defensive rating in the playoffs. He led the league in the playoffs, win shares per 48, offensive box score plus minus, and box plus minus in general throughout the entire NBA playoffs. Embiid was not only injured for the large part of that first series, but he had an offensive rating of 106 compared to Jokic's 127, and a defensive rating of 100, which was better than Nikola Jokic's. I will give him that. But again, everyone came away from the playoffs looking at Joel Embiid saying that he needs to slim down and that the last memory of him was him crying off the floor. I'm just saying that Nikola Jokic, to me, is the best player because, yes, he isn't as aggressive as Embiid, and he might not be as built as Embiid, but he has just amount of basketball skill as Embiid did, and he worked his ass off to become a better defender, and the stats prove it.
Wow.
Well, I mean, Ricky, hey, what are we doing here? Sean's giving a dissertation.
I mean, I'm taking notes. I'm in a lecture right now.
No, it's not. Shout out to Sean. That was good prep work.
Thank you. That's all I have for this podcast. I'm gonna take off now. Thank you very much.
I just want to throw out this question.
Yeah, go ahead.
And this is me looking back at just my rankings and trying to decide because there's a fine line between these two guys. And for me, most of the times when it's deciding 1 and 2, it's usually the guy when you ask the question of, okay, if you take him off their team, which team will be decimated, which team is going to be fine.
Yeah.
And when we're looking back through mine, Steph and Dame. You take Dame off the Trailblazers, are they worse? Yes, but they're not decimated. You take Steph off the Warriors, this year's Warriors, they're decimated. I know that you can say last year with KD, but coming into the season, even
There's
with
no Clay.
With Clay, right, they're decimated. It's the KD thing that made it to where that's not an argument. My shooting guards is the only part this doesn't happen because you take James Harden off the Rockets, they're decimated. You take Bradley Beal off the Wizards, they're decimated.
And they already suck.
There's no way around that. Like
They're even worse than last.
exactly.
It might be Charlotte Hornets bad.
With the
Bobcats.
small forwards, same thing. You take LeBron off the Lakers. The Lakers are not a good team. You take Paul George off the Clippers. Kawhi could probably bring the Clippers to a championship just by himself.
And I understand your point. You're
then
getting to the
Giannis
point
and
that
Kawhi-
if you take Embiid off, they're a worse team than the Nuggets are.
No, I'm just asking the question of.
Well, here's my response.
Because my first thought is to believe that if you take Joel off this year's Sixers team because they don't have Jimmy like they did last year, that they would be worse off around this big depth team of Denver. But is that necessarily true? I wanted to throw that out to you three.
My thing is, if we're looking at right now in the 76ers, there's the argument that they have the best starting lineup in the NBA right now. So you take them off, they're a much worse team, right? Yeah. But I still think that they're a playoff team. If you take Jokic off the Nuggets, I do not think they're a playoff team. Because right now they do have Ben Simmons, who most people would put in the top 25 of players in the NBA. The Nuggets do not have that. And the Nuggets maybe have a great player in Jamal Murray, where the 76ers have Ben Simmons, Josh Richardson, who probably will fit more in the good category.
Yep.
But Al Horford and Tobias Harris probably fit in the great category. So he's playing with 3 great players and 1 good player compared to maybe a great player in Jamal Murray and then some good players in Gary Harris and Paul Millsap. But there's just a lot of depth on that Nugget team, but there's no star power outside of Jokic, where there is on the 76ers. So I would say, outside of the coaching difference, because I would easily put Mike Malone over Brett Brown, Nikola Jokic going off the Nuggets would decimate that team more than Embiid off the Sixers. They went to the second round of the playoffs without Embiid.
True, and I mean, even wasn't it in the Toronto series was when Joel Embiid was having the Michael Jordan flu like
it was
symptoms?
throughout the whole. It was started in the end of the regular season. So I just look at this and I don't know what I'm missing. I mean, I understand he's bigger, he's faster, John, but
He's bigger, faster, stronger. He's a better scorer.
that's it. But Jokic is Jokic is a miles better passer.
Yes.
He's a smarter basketball player.
Right.
He's
But
more
Jokic-
healthy and available.
Jokic
He
is
puts
someone
himself
who needs
in
to be
great
in a
position.
system to succeed, and Joel Embiid can be picked up and dropped into any team in the NBA and succeed. That's my
that's
thought.
fair.
He's so versatile as a big man. He can palm the ball. He can pass. He's not gifted passing, but he is able to do everything, and he can be a plug and play on 30 teams in the NBA and be able to take that team somewhere.
I understand that, and that is an argument that I could entertain, because Joel Embiid can be put on any team and make an impact, right? And Jokic, if he wasn't in this Denver team, he might not have been making the same impact because someone might not have realized that. John, I'll go to you. Is that a deciding factor, the fact that Embiid can play anywhere where Jokic might be a product of his system? I personally don't think that. I think just someone saw his true talent, but what do you think, at least on that standpoint? Do you think Embiid's a better player just because of his ability to play anywhere?
I think Embiid's a better player because he's more of a defensive player than Jokic. I think that the Nuggets don't have a true point guard, so Jokic does a lot of playmaking. Joel Embiid doesn't have that talent, but they have a true point guard. So they mean different things to their teams. If he switched Embiid to the Nuggets and then Jokic to the Sixers, definitely the Sixers would be better. Not just because they have more talent, because Embiid without a point guard is much worse than Jokic without a point guard.
Yeah, and I think one thing, too, is the fact that if you give Jokic a Ben Simmons, he can actually probably get better looks from three, although that team is fantastic at getting open looks, and Jokic dropped off a lot from his three-point percentages. Him and Embiid were about the same, both at 30, but Jokic on a career is around a 34.5% shooter. But if you give him a Ben Simmons, a guy who could really open up passing lanes for him, I think Jokic would be even higher and at least be up near cat levels of a guy shooting 50, 40, and 80 from the line. I just think with the whole defensive thing, I understand that Embiid is definitely more of a force, right? If you're putting up one guy versus one guy in a playground, Embiid is 100% going to have more blocks or anything like that.
Yeah.
But we're talking 5-on-5 right here. And Jokic consistently was putting himself in the passing lanes to steal passes. 1.5 steals last year. He was consistently putting himself in the right position to disrupt and cause havoc. And yes, he isn't a guy that is going to go up against Joel Embiid one-on-one in a DC playground or anything like that, John. But I do think at least playing team defense, he showed his worth last year, and he did get better.
Yeah, he got better. Just not good enough, in my opinion.
All right. I saw a guy that wasn't getting really goofed on the playoffs. I saw a guy that was really competent out there defensively in the playoffs. I didn't see him slacking too much defensively in being Jokic.
I don't think anybody's making an argument that Jokic is a bad defensive player. Just Embiid is just a superior player.
All right. I'll say superior defender, yes. But my whole thing has been the gap between Jokic offensively and Embiid offensively is greater because of his passing abilities, because of his shooting ability. Obviously, it was about even there when you take in the range, but free throw wise, I think Jokic was a better free throw shooter, although Embiid is not bad. But with that, I do think that the ability that he brings passing wise is much greater than Embiid. He is less of a negative when it comes to turnovers and forcing up bad shots, where Jokic is typically taking better shots than Embiid. I think offensively, the discrepancy there is much greater than Embiid's defensive prowess over Jokic's prowess, because it is 5-on-5 basketball.
But what about
Embiid?
Oh, go ahead, John.
Embiid averages. Go ahead.
Is it Embiid averages 2 blocks a game?
3 more rebounds than Jokic.
Oh, okay. That's fair. But, I mean, with that, I mean, you could also say Paul Millsap was on that team for the Nuggets, and he was injured for a large part. But I don't know if their whole offense relies on Jokic grabbing boards necessarily, because I think it's more of a system of grab it and run and push the pace, more of what we see.
If one-on-one, who will win the box out more times than not?
Oh, for sure. Again, if we're talking strength, Embiid's got him beat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not stupid. I see their bodies.
When they're playing driving to the lane, and Jokic or Embiid is trailing, who has a better chance of blocking the shot from behind?
Embiid. But if Embiid hits the floor hard, I don't think he's getting up.
He's got up all year. He shows he's gotten up.
He only played 60 games. 64 games, and he wasn't on the floor in those playoff games where Jokic played 82 and was on for all of their games in the playoffs.
A lot of that's load management. That's the future. Sixers are ahead of the game. You'll see.
I don't know. They tried to manage his load last year. I know everyone laughs at that whole phrasing, but he still wasn't available in the playoffs where Jokic was. I understand they're trying to do his best to keep him healthy, but it's like you have to have a babysitter for your best player, where Jokic is pretty much the baby out there.
Yeah,
and he does a phenomenal job.
Well, they got on babysitter. They got some sports sciences lady from the Spurs.
Well,
but,
they got a real babysitter in Al Horford. Like, they need someone to play defense for Joel Embiid now, too.
Get out of here with that shit.
Play defense for Joel Embiid.
The guy who's
I know, it was a joke. But is that not the whole idea of that we need to give Joel Embiid time off, that we need to give Joel Embiid...
Yes, because their backup center was Bobby or fucking Jonah Bolden.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why his on-off numbers were ridiculous. Was because their off was literally you're throwing in no one.
And the other thing that went into the load management for last year, too, I know he was injured part two, but this year it'll be, I think, easier to manage Embiid's load because Kawhi's not there no more. The Raptors aren't going to be as high as they are. The Celtics are a question, to where last year it was the Raptors are above us, we need to get above them. It's going to be probably the Sixers and Bucks fighting for 1-2. And it may be easier to say, hey, you know what? Maybe if the Bucks do have like a phenomenal season, hey, we don't have to chase the Bucks. We're fine with the 2 seed. Whereas if you're fighting 3-4, no, you want to get up as high as you can to get that more, what's the word I'm looking for, favorable playoff position. Where this year they won't have to worry about that because the East is weaker than it was last year.
But see, here the whole weak East, and I understand the weak is East, but then why did the Philadelphia 76ers? Why did the weak East? Why did Philadelphia 76ers win less games than the Nuggets, who were second in the Western Conference, the good Western Conference, where Philadelphia wasn't even the second best team in the Eastern Conference last year and didn't win 54 games?
Consistent shooting. Depth and consistent shooting. That's the regular season.
If they have the better player, isn't star power the reason why?
You want to be better in the regular season? How many times in the last couple of years did the best regular season team win the championship?
I think the Warriors were the last couple of years ago.
Yeah, I mean, you could also say
the Rockets haven't gotten anywhere winning.
But you're talking best regular season.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, being good in the regular season doesn't always equate to the playoffs.
The Bucks
and the depth bonus of a team like the Nuggets gets eliminated because the playoffs, you want to get the most minutes out of your most effective players.
With that, they both got eliminated in round 2. But even then, who had an easier round 1?
Yeah.
It was the 76ers, where Joel Embiid didn't even play.
My last point on this whole thing is the X factor of Joel Embiid. That man gets in people's fucking heads. Mm-hmm. He gets them frustrated. He's going to the line 10 times a night. Like, the amount of fouls he gets guys to throw on him, the amount of flagrants that he kind of plays games with refs over, like, he knows how to get in people's heads. He shit talks before games. He shit talks during games, and he gets under people's skins. And they're not thinking about the game. Mm-hmm. They're thinking about getting back at him, and that's something that you can't put into a stat. You can as far as the free throw attempts a game, but like, it's just there's something else to his game that Jokic just doesn't have.
I want to piggyback off of that for 1 second, and that's the thing where...
And then we'll let John get in.
I feel like these two players are polar opposites in a sense, because Jokic, to me, is the more reserved, quiet, where if you ask him a question, he'll answer it, but he's not going to go out there and shit talk like somebody in the media, or he's not going to basically be bombastic, where that's Embiid's game. Like, Embiid lives off of being the spokesperson for the Sixers team, and
he's this generation Shaq.
For me, I feel like this year...
Personality.
Hold it.
Personality-wise. I got what you were saying, Dave.
Thank you.
But I feel like Embiid's going to have a chip on his shoulder this year because of how last year ended. And I'm not saying like Jokic ain't going to have a chip, but like Embiid's the type of player that drives off of emotion, where that's how you get the best out of Joel Embiid. And we may see a phenomenal season out of Embiid this year because he hates how last year ended. That's going to drive him to do better. And us making fun of him for crying at the end of the year, it's just going to drive him to be better this year, to where I think he will be the best center at the end of this year coming into 2019-2020.
All right, John. My final words on the Embiid Jokic thing, because I think I've said enough.
Yeah, I think your dissertation said it all.
Said it all that Jokic was better?
No, you did. You did it. There's no sense over talking about it.
John's my favorite.
But let me ask you guys questions. I'm looking at your top 10s. So all you agree that Al Horford is the power forward?
Yeah, well, our biggest thing that we were deciding with this, because he's definitely going to play center without a doubt, and he's played center for the most of his career. What we wanted to do, at least for these, is what the team's going to look like, in crunch time minutes when they're looking to win these games in close games or playoff time. And I think you would agree with this. You're going to put your best 5 guys out there. So doing so, that means Horford would play the 4.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, and if we did have Al Horford, where would you slot him in? Because I think I'd probably put him probably below Miles Turner just because he's lost a bit, but above your favorite boy, Clint Capella.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Oh, yeah? Where'd you put him?
Horford's way better than Capella.
Oh, yeah, no, I'd say below Turner and above Capella.
Oh, yeah, that's about right. Turner and Horford, I think that's about even.
Yeah, because I mean, Horford's a much smarter player, can put himself in better positions, and obviously he has that just great ability to stretch from the floor as well. But Turner has that youthful spirit, and he's great defensively out there. Is there any other problems you got though with Embiid or Jokic or Horford? I mean, you got any takes about Clint Capella that you've been loading up on?
Yeah, Capella sucks. That's just
What?
I don't see why he's in the top 10.
He's the best pick in the center.
Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant quote says, "His job is not that hard. When your job is that hard, you just can't come out there and talk trash. So all he does is catch fouls from James Harden and play a little defense."
So who do we miss then? Who should be in the top 10? If you're taking Capella out and you're fine with the other 9 guys, who would you be slotting in?
Hassan Whiteside has the talent. I don't think he'll have the production.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at this,
I think you brought up Steven Adams, right?
Steven Adams, he's in everybody's top 10, isn't he?
No. He didn't make our top 10. So we got Gasol, Ayton,
Just Dave.
Just me.
Drummond,
That's why I got
Capella,
that B+.
Turner, Vucevic, Gobert, Towns, Jokic, Embiid. That's the top 10. So Adams is at 12 behind Brook Lopez.
Oh no.
I see, because I look at that. And I think Adams plays better defense.
Adams is better than Andre Drummond.
Yes, he
is.
is.
Andre Drummond has much better rebounding.
That's all he does, though. He gets played off the court.
I'm sorry?
Andre Drummond gets played off the court. All he can do is rebound, but that's it. That doesn't make a great center.
No, I'm saying Adams is better than
Yeah,
Drummond.
I absolutely agree with
you. Yeah, Dave's agreeing you in a very hostile way.
Because these two
He's
jamokes
an
over
asshole.
here put Drummond at 9, and I don't understand it.
I think Enes Kanter is he's rated pretty high on guys.
Yeah.
I think Mitchell Robinson is better than Enes Kanter.
I think Kanter.
Mitchell Robinson has a lot of talent. I don't know, if we're going with projection for 1920.
Yeah.
Or we're going for
for 1920.
Yeah. I would raise up Robinson. I think he's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, Robinson's at 17.
If we're going with projecting talent, I think Ayton will move up for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ayton definitely better than Clint Capella. If we're going projections.
Here's the thing with that, and Capella has been a guy that, again, he is, all he has to do is set picks, and that's all he has to do, and he has to block shots. That's his main job. But he is a guy that has done that efficiently well, and a guy that is extremely smart in the front office is Daryl Morey, and he clearly sees his value in extending him, right? And we see his defensive abilities out there, and we do see his ability as a role man. And now you're adding another guy who is such a dominant pick and roll player who did so well with Steven Adams and Russell Westbrook. I think Capella's value is just going to get upped a little bit more because now you have to use him more in those pick and rolls. So while he does have a very easy job, I do think he does that job very well, where Ayton was kind of lost out there last year. And that's not a fault of his own. He's an extremely talented player, but I think you look at him, and there was definitely something missing from Ayton's rookie season last year, mainly due to the system that he was in. But I think if we're saying which guy's going to produce more, I think I have to go with Capella just because of how he will be used with Harden in the pick and roll and then Westbrook in the pick and roll now.
I don't know. Westbrook in the pick and roll. I think you Westbrook too much credit. I don't think that efficient of a player to talk about his efficiency.
When he goes downhill.
Yeah, when he's got a full head of steam and he gets around that pick,
yeah, but
that's
you're
when he's
talking
dangerous.
about the half court. Russell Westbrook is probably one of the best, full court players, but
Yeah.
half court, it's a little limited.
Well, I think that's the only place that he is good in the half court. That's why is in the pick and roll. Everywhere else, he's kind of garbage, in the half court at least. And so that's why I was like, if you have a guy like Clint Capella who's done so well setting those picks for James Harden, I do have that feeling that he'll be able to do the same for Russell Westbrook, because we even see back in Russ's MVP day, that was a huge part of their offense, was that Steven Adams pick and roll. So maybe they could recapture a little bit of magic there. I would say with Cantor.
I'm sorry, say it again. Who was the pick and roll partner for Russell Westbrook?
Adams.
Yeah, it was Steven Adams, right?
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, Steven Adams. I just think that, clearly, a guy like, Mitchell Robinson, he's going to be in our top 10, years come, and same with Ayton. But I think at least for this year, those guys most likely aren't on playoff teams. So I think, at least impact-wise.
I think Jarrett Allen's going to be a pretty decent player.
Did I not say John was my favorite?
I didn't say he was going to be a bad player. I just said he's not there yet.
They wanted to start DeAndre Jordan over Jarrett Allen.
A couple of guys have Whiteside over Jarrett Allen. I'm not getting that.
I got to ask.
I think Derek Favors is a good pick for a lot of you guys, for all three of you guys, because he's opening up to get some more part of the offense.
Hey, John, you know who had Derek Favor the highest?
God, John.
Yours truly.
I don't know if we can have you on.
John is my guy.
Sean's ego's not
John
fit
is my
back out
favorite
this door
person
tonight.
in this world.
You know whose head is the only thing bigger than Sean's right now? Joel Embiid.
Yeah. What's that, number 8 you got him at? You got Derek Favors. Is that 8?
so
Am I reading it
high.
right?
Yeah, that's 8.
Yeah. That's a good pick.
But why? Why do you have him so high?
So, I mean, Favors, we talked about him a little bit in the last segment, but at least in this one, I mean, I've talked about him so much as he was playing out of position, because you're not going to put Gobert at the 4. You're going to put Favors at the 5. And Favors showed so much where, especially with Ingles, and I'm surprised, Dave didn't check onto this, when he was playing with Ingles, he was so deadly as a 5 pick and roll man, and he is so good defensively. It's hidden by Rudy Gobert. So now finally being able to play in his position, playing defense next to these speedy guards like Drew Holiday, Lonzo Ball, and Zion Williamson.
That team's
honestly,
defense is hilarious.
I honestly think that he's going to absolutely shine. And he's such a smart player. He's a physical player as well. And he's a guy that, like, similar to what Julius Randle did with New Orleans last year, he's a guy that's going to bang bodies down low, and he's going to be able to be efficient at the rim. He was one of the most efficient players over the past 5 years, at least at the rim. Derek Favors is a monster. People have been sleeping on him.
Yeah, a lot of centers are dependent upon how good the playmaking is, especially the point guard. I think that Lonzo Ball, he's a pretty good point guard, pretty good playmaker, and Derek Favors is going to benefit from that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not ready to give in on it yet. I'm still picking my fights. I think that you guys are still sleeping a little bit on, like, Brook Lopez is someone who...
I should have had him higher.
You're criminally low. 12 for the guy who basically opened up Giannis's
threes.
game.
Okay, that's fine.
Big Splash Mountain, come on.
Okay, if we're
He's
talking...
a center that can shoot threes. That's the one.
I understand
the one thing.
he could shoot threes, but that's the only thing that he has above all of these guys.
But it's his impact on his team that makes the difference.
And
Okay, and that I understand that. But if Marc Gasol wasn't on the Raptors, they wouldn't have won an NBA championship. I'm sorry, that's more of an impact. DeAndre Ayton, if he has a playmaker, he will have more impact than Brook Lopez will, because he's a better defensive player and he's a better offensive player.
Marc Gasol's why they won the championship.
Right.
Not Kawhi.
No, Marc Gasol is the only reason they beat the Sixers.
Thank you, John.
They wouldn't have beat the Sixers with Valanciunas.
John is in my head.
My joke
digestive issues.
My joke is with
there's one
Gasol
guy
this year. They're not going to have that chance.
There's 2 guys in the Eastern Conference that could stop Joel Embiid, or at least slow him down.
Right.
One was Al Horford. The other was Marc Gasol. If they didn't have him, they would have lost, and we wouldn't see that crazy shot at the end to knock the Sixers out and to push the Raptors on to the next round. And guess what? Who was a better player in the Eastern Conference Finals? Brook Lopez was nowhere. Marc Gasol was able to be found. I put Gasol above Brook Lopez. Drummond, if you want to...
Gasol is much more talented. He's just older.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
If we're talking prime, Brook Lopez was like 15. The only reason why he's relevant is because he's playing with the Bucks. If he wasn't playing with the Bucks, he wouldn't be relevant. Where Gasol's been, a top center for past 5 years.
Prime, Gasol will be number 3.
Yeah, I agree. I would. Yeah, I'd probably.
Now you're infringing on cat territory, and that's Sean's boy as well.
Well, yeah. What's your thoughts on Cat? Because I think Gasol's better than Gobert if we're talking prime. But Cat's such an interesting guy in my mind. What do you think of Cat?
I don't like centers who can't play defense.
Oh,
right.
Bottom line.
thank you.
Bottom line.
But is he too
And,
high at 3?
You know, I think there's some truth in what a lot of what Jimmy Butler said. So for me, I wouldn't build a franchise, you know, with Cat, given what Jimmy Butler says about him.
Okay, but you so
As far
you
as talent, offensive talent, he's probably, you know, he's third. But as far as the overall center, I mean, he's up there as far as talent and production. But as far as like being a teammate, getting a team to go to the championship, I'm not riding with Cat.
All right.
I'd take
disagree with
Capella
that.
over Cat.
What's that?
I'd take Capella over Cat going for a championship.
Really?
Yeah, no question.
Damn. All right. I mean, the one
guy wants
So, would you put right now going into 2019-2020? Would you put Gobert over Towns?
I prefer Gobert. I want my center to be a defender.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and Gobert clearly has been one of the best defenders in the NBA. Has won 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards now.
He's probably the best defender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's disgusting.
Yeah, he's
I think
insane.
that centers have an advantage over forwards and guards as being a better defender. Kawhi probably individually is, but as far as position and NBA, like in basketball wise, position wise, I think Gobert is a better defender, but not more talented defender than Kawhi.
All right.
I see that, yeah.
And we've struggled, and we kind of talked about the lack of depth, at least to this position. 21 through 30 was just kind of a rough patch of players. If you had to sum up like the most important skill of, and I think I know what you'll say, but at least the most important thing for a modern day center, what do you think it is? The ability to stretch behind the 3-point line? Is it still defense? Is it rebounding? What do you think the biggest skill that's necessary for a great center is?
At the start of basketball, when he was still taking the basketball out of the basket, it was rebounding. In the Middle Ages, rebounding. Today, rebounding. Number one skill of the NBA center is to turn over the ball from offense to defense.
Yeah, and
I like it. It's simple.
That's why. And if we were playing in the start of basketball, Andre Drummond would be number 1.
Yeah, no, I mean he's a good player. Great. I mean, he's a great rebounder.
Yeah, for sure.
In the top 10, but doesn't put him. You know, it doesn't. The lack of his other parts of the game just weighed down too much.
Yeah, I mean, if he was even somewhat of an okay free throw shooter, maybe he'd get more of some love. But yeah, no, he's super athletic, but doesn't know what to do with it.
You know, their best player is a power forward, which probably hinders Drummond a little bit.
Yeah, and he's really never had a point guard, really. I mean, maybe I'm interested.
Red's doing shit.
Dave, who's Detroit's best player?
It was Ish Smith.
Huh?
No, I'm saying like I don't think
That's Dave's boy.
that was my boy. Now he's stuck over in Washington. Poor Ish.
We like Ish Smith in Philadelphia. Trust me.
Hell yeah, he was fantastic.
Yep.
But no, I mean, like, I don't know. Drummond's an interesting case because I don't know if he's helped or hurt by Blake at the end of the day. Like, his career progression's just been interesting because he hasn't taken a step when we expect him to.
Or does he help?
He's able
or
to
hurt Blake?
facilitate better than I expected him to, but at the same time, his offensive game has not progressed where we'd hoped it would be at this point in time. Like, he still takes dumb shots. He still isn't aware of the offensive movement that should be expected of him to, A, get out of the way for Blake at times, or B, just needs to position himself better to get better looks. But yeah, like you said, like when Reggie is your point guard, or Ish, you know, who is a backup point guard in the NBA, who I love, but like you're now starting point guard, that offensive system runs wonky because it has to run through Blake somehow now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like I feel like Drummond, if he wasn't averaging 15 boards a game and almost 2 steals or 2 blocks a game, he wouldn't be on the court because he is the one center to
Just
me.
put up ridiculous numbers.
Well, he's the one center to me that besides those things, he doesn't fit where the game is going. Like, he doesn't shoot threes well. Like you said, he takes bad shots sometimes. It's like he is not the center that all these run and gun teams of the new NBA want to run, but because he rebounds the ball really well and plays good defense, the Pistons have to have him out there because he helps in that way.
Yeah, and I think one thing too, we talked earlier about Joel Embiid getting in guys' heads. He's affected the Andre Drummond thing. Final thoughts, Ricky, and then we'll go around the horn. And with John.
For me, the only
Joel
thing.
Embiid is
No,
Who we going with first?
daddy.
go with John.
Okay.
John, what were you saying?
Joel Embiid is Andre Drummond's daddy.
Oh yeah,
Same with
him and
Cat.
Whiteside. And Whiteside.
And Whiteside.
He's got a list.
But Whiteside actually gets it up for Joel Embiid. That's the one time you see Whiteside go all at it. And, like, it doesn't end well all the time. but you do see
And
the
Cat.
best version of it. Yeah, Cat.
And Cat.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he owned
spanks
Cat.
Cat.
And that was like the biggest. That if you want to look at
Just disrespect.
Yeah, if you want to look at what you said about Karl-Anthony Towns not being able to play defense, just look at what he did when Embiid came into the lane. Ricky, final thoughts, and we'll go around the horn.
The only thing that I didn't get to say earlier when we were talking about Clint Capella is the only reason I had him lower than Miles Turner when I was thinking between the two in a playoff series, who gets run off the court? Clint Capella.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main reason.
I'd agree with you. I had Turner above Capella. Dave, final thoughts?
Boosie Main. Like, I just want to give him a smidge of
He
love
was
to
good
end the
year
show.
last year, like surprise.
He was
like,
an all-star. He was fantastic. He played great defense. He played great offense. The man is just not talked about because he plays for the Magic. Like, unfortunately, you were on the 8th seed Magic who, don't get love anywhere.
And Sean likes this. Guess where he was last year? 20th.
Yeah.
And now he's a top 5.
Oh,
Shout
that's
out.
way too low.
Yeah, exactly. That was way too low. But he's got an all-around game, and it's
We
really
all know where he
encouraging.
got to start in the NBA, right?
He was
76er.
a Laker? 76er.
He was
Right.
he was
76ers.
traded for Alfred Payton.
Oh,
right?
he was part of that trade.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. God.
I know my process history.
Part of
John,
the process.
John, give us your final thoughts, whether it be about the process Embiid or any of the centers we talked about.
I just trying to give a little attention to DeAndre Ayton, the talented young guy. I hope he puts it together, gets a little more weight and be able to box out for some rebounds and grab some block shots. I think he has a developing offensive game. Phoenix is an up-and-coming team. I think that Ayton, in a couple of years, he'll be a top 5 center consistently.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the fact that he finally got a true playmaker in Ricky Rubio is going to be miles of help to his game. It's just going to be a boost that he desperately needs. But if he gets that boost, I mean, he's a guy that kind of underperformed last year, but is still in the top 10 because he's got everything you want. John, we want to thank you for joining us. I want to thank you for backing me up on so many things, especially the Derek Favors things. Derek Favors is my guy and has always been my guy. So thank you for that. And thank you for being a patron. If you want to be like John, check out patreon.com/mostvaluedpodcast. But that's going to do it for ranking centers 1 through 30.